Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to the ObaNutrition channel. Today, we'll start this episode by asking you a simple question. Is it possible to diagnose someone with diabetes or pre-diabetes or them having elevated blood sugar levels by simply looking at their face? It might sound like a bit ambiguous or far-fetched, but it's actually possible to look at someone's face and know that they're having elevated blood sugar levels or they are actually ailing from diabetes. So I'll be tackling those 12 signs in this video. And the first sign is usually occurrence of pimples or acne. So this may sound a bit too wide or too general because you also have adolescents who have acne and you realize that them themselves not tell them that they are actually diabetic. Not really that they are diabetic, but they are on a very high carbohydrate diet. That's where they end up having acne. Sometimes it might be hormonal. However, most of the time it's usually related to high consumption of carbs. So when you're consuming a lot of carbs, you have the production of the advanced glycation end products, which will eventually cause you to have the acne, a lot of it, especially on the face. So most of the time you'll find that going down on a low carb diet helps to relieve you from ailing from pimples or whichever form of acne. The second sign is usually occurrence of skin tags. This is another kind of a pimple. It's a bit different from what you know as a normal pimple. But with a skin tag, it actually looks like something that is an extension of your skin, but not really something that is malignant like cancer. No, it's only just a slight extension of your skin, which might go on depending on how elevated your blood sugar levels are. So most of the time you'll find it occurring in the armpits. However, with diabetic people, you'll find it occurring even on their face. And in black populations, you'll find it occurring as a black thing, not really colorless. Sometimes it's colorless, sometimes it's black in nature. But among the people who have lots of melanin, you'll find it occurring as a black thing. However, in those who are having a lighter melanin, you'll find them occurring a bit colorless or a bit brownish sort of a thing. Then the third one is occurrence of darkened skin patches on the face or neck. Sometimes you might think that that person has actually bleached, but it's not bleaching that has been done. It's just that one part of the face looks lighter than the other, and this is because they are having very much elevated blood sugar levels. In other words, we call it as hyperpigmentation. One part of the facial skin is more darker than the other one, and someone might think that you have been doing bleaching, or which is not really the case. The fourth sign is early skin aging. So with early skin aging is where you find that someone is 25 years old, but they don't look 25 years old, they look 45 years old. And that is because they are on a very high carbohydrate diet, which is making their skin age faster than normal. Or someone you might find they're 35 years, but they look like they are 60 years old. So it's not good to be looking older than actually what you are, because that is a signal that there's a lot of inflammation going on in your body, and some of that waste product is being deposited around your skin, or that waste product is not actually being removed efficiently, causing you to look very older than what you actually are. The fifth sign is having eye irritation. This one I found it very common with people who have advanced elevated blood sugar levels. So most of the time you'll find they are also suffering from things like cataracts. They are having even blood vision, which is also another sign. Uh, and even sometimes you find they're having teary eyes. Most of the time you'll find that their eyes have an issue. So sometimes they're scratching their eyes most of the time, other times having even very deep reddened eyes. And this is because the eyes are a very delicate organ. When there's elevated blood sugar levels, they suffer the most because for them, the action of insulin, which is supposed to lower your blood sugar levels, does not work efficiently in the eyes because the eyes have very small blood vessels, very small capillaries, and the action of insulin will not be effective on that part of the eye as compared, especially the retina, as compared to your legs or your hands whenever there is elevated blood sugar levels. So every time you are consuming a very high carbohydrate diet, whenever you're taking that sugar, remember your eyes will suffer the most if in case you end up with diabetes. So as I said, the sixth sign was blurred vision. So blurred vision is something you'll find common, especially people who are diabetic. You'll find them using spectacles. However, the spectacles do not seem to make much of a benefit to them because they still continue struggling with them while using it. And sometimes even walking becomes problematic to them because they cannot be able to visualize the ground as well. And as I've described earlier, the eye suffers the most whenever it comes to elevated blood sugar levels. The seventh sign is experiencing forgetfulness or memory fogs, where you want to tell someone something, but it seems it kind of disappears away from your mind for some time. And it makes you kind of irritated because you cannot have a sober conversation with someone. At times, the forgetfulness might even become a problem when you have prepared to do something or to tell someone something interesting, and then all of a sudden it's gone from your mind. But you'll find that going down on a low carbohydrate diet, if you do a low carbohydrate diet, your memory improves much better. And this could be the reason why you are having a lot of dementia during old age, because you are 80 years but the last 40 years you've been on a very high carbohydrate diet, you've been doing alcohol, you've been doing all these kind of things. So by the time you're hitting 80 years, you're having Alzheimer's disease, dementia, and this is now where you're having type 3 diabetes affecting the brain. So you'll find that Alzheimer's is now a very common disease nowadays because of people are consuming a lot of carbohydrates or a very high carbohydrate diet for many years. So by the time they are hitting their 80s or 70s, it is just too chronic. The eighth sign is disappearance of the jawline, especially in men. So we have this jawline here. So once you are having elevated blood sugar levels, remember the sugars will be converted to fats. So at the first sign will be that your jawline is no longer visible. And this is not as, you cannot say this as an excuse that this is only found in, the jawline can only be found in people who are slim. Not really. Because I know people who are very muscular and they still have their jawline. So once you find that your jawline is kind of disappearing, it means that you are actually accumulating more fats in the body as a result of elevated blood sugar levels. The ninth sign, which is connected to the earlier one, is the fatty face. So once your jawline starts disappearing, you'll now start realizing some parts of your face are getting more fatty and fatty. Your cheeks look bigger. Your eyes sometimes can get swollen, and this is because it can be due to water retention. You're retaining water in your eyes. Sometimes you're retaining water in your face. So your face looks bigger than how it's actually supposed to be looking like. So especially if you end up with something like a moon face, your face looks more like a moon itself. And this is because you're accumulating either water or a lot of fats on your face. And this is as a result of very high carbohydrate diet, because carbohydrates attract water. They trap water. That's why they are called carbohydrate. Hydrate meaning water. They are pulling water. So if you're on such a diet, you'll end up with a lot of water retention on your face, and that makes you looking bigger and actually not what you are supposed to be looking like. The 10th sign is having a double chinned neck. So some people will find you'll be wondering, do they really have a neck? Because as I said, the jaw is directly connected to the lower, to the shoulders without any joint, you even wonder what is happening. Or sometimes you find that there's another layer with another layer here. That's a sign that the body is just trying to look for storage units, and these storage units are getting exhausted in other places. So the body just decides, I'll deposit these excess fats that are coming from sugar in your neck, and you end up looking weird, which is not good. The 11th sign is having facial hair, especially in women. In men, having facial hair is very normal. Having beards is very normal in men. However, if you are ending up with facial hair as a woman, it means that now your sugar levels are even interrupting with the reproductive hormones, estrogen. Your estrogen is now being converted to testosterone, which is found in men. And that testosterone is causing you to have facial hair. So you find that you as a woman, you end up with some beards, which is not which makes you look, I would not want to say that word, but it's not a but it's not a good thing to be at such a point. So go on a low carb diet, and you'll now you'll now prevent the conversion of your estrogen to testosterone. So enough of women, now we go to men. Having premature baldness as a man. So you might be having baldness in the family, which is very quite normal to occur because of genetics. However, if the baldness is occurring at a very early age, for example, you are 28 years and you are already bald, that's not normal at all. Or you're having your hairline receding and you're just 22 years old, or you're just, I mean, it's not normal for you to have such a thing. And this because the blood sugar levels are now even interrupting with your hair production, and that's causing you to become very much prematurely bald. And you might even find that premature baldness is more common among alcoholics, because alcohol destroys the liver. The liver is the blood sugar regulation organ. So if the liver, which is supposed to regulate the blood sugar levels, is getting destroyed, how do you, so you end up with very much elevated blood sugar levels, and that means your hairline will start receding. That's why baldness is a very common issue with alcoholic men. So those are the 12 facial signs that you are actually either ending up with elevated blood sugar levels, pre-diabetes, or diabetes. If you find that something is common among in your life, try to correct it as early as possible, especially for if you are young. If you're experiencing a lot of acne, a lot of pimples, that is a sign that you're supposed to be even more watchful on your diet. If you are older and you're experiencing premature baldness, that's another sign that you're supposed to be more keen with how you consume. Having a fatty face, or even snoring at night, which is a symptom of a fatty face, be have a keen eye on your diet. So thank you for watching this video, and see you next time.